Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of the harvest season. My name is Johnny,
And my name is Bev.
and then there's something else that the main host usually says, but neither Bev or I are usually the ones that host. And we're
The-
here today to talk to you about cottagecore games. Woo!
Woo!
You're getting there. And today we are
Beautiful.
talking about like the most cottagecore games. So it'll
Hmm.
be very exciting. Today we're going to be chatting to you about Stardew 1.5, only like a year and a bit after it came out. So yeah, very excited about that. Before we kick into
Hmm.
things, as always, recording and transcripts are available. Well, you're recording you're listening to, transcripts are available in the show notes and on the website. But before we kick into the news, Bev, what have you been up to?
I I've been dying at work, but when I'm not dying at work, I've been putting most of my free time into Disney Dreamlight Valley because I am trying to be a completionist with that Winter Star Path event, and I want all of the winter goodies. So, hurriedly trying to get those last Star Path duties, I guess, in so I can uh, 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 collect all the things.
How are the events in Disney Dreamlight Valley? Because I've been on two shows about DDV, but I
Mhm.
haven't really done any of the events. I've mostly just like mainlined the core content of the game. So how do you feel about the
Mhm.
events in it?
Uh, I mean, I feel like it's like an event loosely, like in very loose terms, because it's mostly just a new quest line that you're following. To my knowledge, there isn't like a story or anything like tied to it. Not that I can recall. And I paid a little extra for Moonstones to ensure that I got the exclusive like winter version of Belle and Ariel, even though I technically don't have those characters unlocked yet. But so it's been nice and that it's kind of forcing me to come back in and play it. But a lot of the quests or the duties are actually kind of hard to to accomplish. And there's like 80 of them, and I think I'm only at like 55 or so with like a handful of days left. So I'm a little. I shouldn't say I'm stressing myself out, but I probably am a little bit by trying to get these last quests in.
Do you have to do all of them or just some of them?
I mean, technically, I don't think you have to do any of them. There's on the like event page. There's the duties page, which lists the different like Dreamlight, similar to Dreamlight duties that you have to fulfill or accomplish. And then there's a reward section, and there's like 6 different pages of those rewards that you unlock solely by purchasing like 3 out of the 7 that are available. So it's I already forgot what the question was. We're doing so
Oh,
well.
you have to do all of them to unlock everything, I guess.
Oh no, no, no. I do like that they have the option to allow you to see what's on the later pages. Like I can see up until the last page of number 6, what's available, so I can kind of map out in my head of how much I want to do or how much of the like how much time I want to spend devoting to this event to acquire everything I want to get. So there's a certain level of, I guess, like you kind of have to acquire a certain number of the duties in order to at least fully unlock all 6 pages, but not to the extent that you have to do it all to truly like take advantage of the event. And to my knowledge, there's also a like a free version without paying the extra premium like Moonstones, and then there's the premium version. I think in the basic version, they limit the number of duties to only 3 at a time, so it makes it a little harder to advance. But with the premium, they give you 6.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sounds like a good fun, and I know there's a bit of controversy about them going from not free to play to free to play,
Mm-hmm.
but it feels like they're implemented in a way that's not like kind of forcing you to spend money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can still take advantage of it, but it still kind of has that like free to play feel. I was playing Palia for a while, because I was also trying to take advantage of that winter event. And I think I did everything I need to feel like I got the most out of it, and then probably put it down to put all my time back into Dreamline.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
I really enjoy Palia. Um,
Hmm.
but there's some. It feels like there's some content missing still from that game.
Yeah. Yeah, which makes sense. It's still in early access.
Absolutely.
Mhm, mhm. But what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? So I have tried, and when I say tried, I've played like half an hour, so I don't have too much to say. But I have tried Pal World, which is the Pokemon with guns game that's got like a ton of controversy around it because they pretty blatantly just like copied Pokemon designs. Um, and
Oh
it
wow,
seems,
yeah.
yeah, it seems like a really bad survival game is kind of my take, and I don't think survival games are that good to begin with. And this one
Hmm.
seems pretty heinous. Like everything just feels more difficult than it needs to be, if that makes sense. Like
Mm.
when I play a survival game, I kind of want to be able to get into things quickly and feel like, crafting and building stuff is really intuitive. And
Hmm.
this game is not that. Like, they just set you up with a bunch of quests. They don't really tell you how to do anything. You've got a bunch
Mm.
of stats, and I get that it's a demo, but this game is controversial because it seems like they stole a bunch of intellectual property. And
Yeah.
B, it just seems like a boring and unfun game. So I don't know that I have a
Hmm.
huge else more to say other than it's just like, don't play this game. Don't support it. It seems terrible.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it like from screenshots and what's on Steam, it's very clearly that they one can say maybe to be kind, like were inspired by Pokemon art. But more likely they just took the designs that people liked and put them. Oh my goodness, yeah. There's what's the deer Pokemon, the stag one. That looks exactly, except for the antlers,
Yeah.
like Pokemon. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and pretty much
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, pretty much everything looks exactly like a Pokemon, where it's like, oh, they just changed the color palette on this one, or yeah, they
Hmm.
removed one feature or added one feature. So,
Hmm.
I didn't even get to the point where, a Pokemon had a gun. I think I caught one, and then trying to work out what to do with it was painful enough that it's like I just don't have the energy to put into this sort of terrible
Hmm.
experience, and I kind of don't want to give them the the hours played stat on Game Pass because uh, I guess that's the version of supporting the game there. So yeah, trying not to play that one.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I can make an argument that, like, sure, that the creatures there are very similar to Pokemon, but they're still spending a lot of time and like effort into building everything else. And I would hope that it plays better than Scarlet Violet did, especially at the beginning. So if they're able to accomplish that, and the Pokemon Company wasn't, then like, that's one point for them, I guess.
Yeah, and they do have that point. The Pokemon don't stutter around the world, so there's that.
Uh-huh.
And the open world, like, because it's openish world. I assume it's procedurally generated, but I'm not sure on that. Um, like it feels better than the Pokemon open world from the
Hmm.
small section that I've played, and it kind of has the vibe of, I assume there'll be more movement abilities or something like that, and that'll be cool once you get those.
Hmm.
But it doesn't seem worth going through all of the effort of actually getting those.
Uh, See, part of me almost wants to get it because this is what I kind of want, like Arceus to have been, like where it was back in the day. So it was more of a survival-esque aspect, but it fell a lot short than what, in comparison, I think, to what Pal World is maybe offering.
Maybe we should
But
start a multiplayer world then.
you're telling me not to support it, and I'm making an argument why I want to support it
Support
because it
it.
looks like the Pokemon game I want to play.
I mean,
But
it might get
maybe,
good. We'll see. We'll see.
yeah. Yeah, it's still early access, so we'll see. And maybe these are just like the initial ones. Like, there's so much good ideas for new Pokemon out in the like either in the internet. So I have hopes that they would just have like a small number that are clearly copied, and then it'll be a little bit more creative. I don't know, but we'll see. I guess.
On that front, I will say prepare for disappointment.
Okay.
So that's Power World. The other
Mhm.
game I've been playing is Sea of Stars, which is
Ooh.
a very cute little JRPG that came out last year. And
Mhm.
it's been a while since I've like jumped into a good JRPG, and this one kind of just jumped out, and I feel like I heard enough, people around me saying good things about it that I thought I would give it a go,
Mhm.
and I'm really enjoying it. It's just a really nice like the writing feels better than your like I'm not like trying to say that the writing's amazing, but JRPGs
Mhm.
generally have pretty terrible writing. And this one has been pretty good so far, so I'm enjoying that. I really enjoy the combat. There's some small timing
Mhm.
based stuff in the combat, which I normally don't love, but it's kind of like implemented in a way that's just works quite well in this game. And
Mhm.
they have some cool mechanics that they've layered on top, right? So like when enemies are doing um, kind of like their finisher or their signature attack, there'll be there's ways to break it. Like, so if you deal certain types of damage to them, you
Mhm.
can interrupt it and stop that entirely, which is a really cool mechanic because it adds kind of like a fun short-term puzzle aspect to the middle of fights. So it's not just
Mhm.
how do I get their health bar to zero? It adds the interesting dimension of, well, this attack will deal less damage, but it'll deal the sort of damage that I need to do. So I feel like
Mhm.
the combat's really, really intelligently designed. In similar ways to if you play games like Bravely Default or those sorts of things, it feels like kind of equivalent to what those did to the standard turn-based mechanic system.
Okay. Sounds good. I picked that game. So I was a backer of Sea of Stars and didn't get around to picking it up until before like the new year. And then dropped it immediately as soon as I realized there was winter events that I had to I had to spend time in. But I I also had the same impression. Like, I really enjoyed, I think, like the few hours that I put into it, for those exact same reasons. And the art style is beautiful. So I think excited to pick that up once I'm done grinding in Dreamlight Valley.
Yeah, well, maybe once you're done, we can do a second harvest on Sea of Stars.
Yes.
Yeah, all
Yes, I would
right.
love that.
Great. But that, I guess, is what I've been playing. And with that, we will jump to the news because there is a decent chunk of news this week. And to kick off, we've got Fae Farm. So their 2.1 update is out now as of the time you're listening to it, but it's not out now as of the time of recording.
Mhm.
Um, there's some cool changes in this one. So probably the biggest thing is if you're in single player mode, the game actually pauses in menus. This is one of those like little things, just those little annoyances that didn't happen before. Where if you're in a menu, time just continued to pass, which
Mhm.
is a bit of a brain breaker, I think, for farming games because if you needed to pause, most games you just open the menu and then have that be the way that you pause. But that does not work for Fae
Mhm.
Farm, but now it will. Um, so that's cool that
Mhm.
they've got that.
Yeah, for sure. I don't recall. I was also playing that, I think, prior to the new year, and don't recall the I or maybe not realizing that it didn't pause. But I was also playing when I couldn't sleep, so I guess I didn't have much of a need to pause it. But yeah, that's definitely a huge quality of life improvement.
Yeah. And I don't think it was hugely impactful for Fae Farm. Like compared to a lot of other farming games, you don't spend a ton of time in the menus in that game. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
not super noticeable. And it was never really one of those games where I struggled, like, or where I felt like the days were too short. Um,
Hmm.
so I think yeah, it wasn't a huge limitation for that game, but definitely just something that was out of step with, I guess what's become a standard quality of life feature.
Hmm.
There are a few other small changes coming with 2.1. We won't talk about them here because it's kind of one of those. If you care, you care, and if you don't, there's just a lot of small things, I guess, that are coming through. They've also shared a bit about the subsequent updates, so update 2.2. They're talking about the expansion of romance mechanics, which, if you've listened to previous episodes on or a previous episode on Fae Farm, you know that Al and I we were not enamored with the romance system. And I don't know that I'm that excited to jump back in, like with them expanding the mechanics. I just think it's something they should kind of, not invest their time into. It's not a good focus for this game.
Hmm.
But they are, so we'll see what they do there. And they say allowing further control of game time. I'm wondering if this is a feature that's kind of more common in newer games where you can sort of uh, control how quickly in real world time you want the day to pass. So maybe it's, if it's 20 minutes, maybe you can make it half an hour or something like that instead. But we will see. And
Hmm.
expansion, this next one's I think planned for release before the end of June, which is still quite a bit away.
Indeed.
Cool. So next is Fabledom, what they are calling the Wedding Chateau update, which is coming on the 1st of February. And I guess in terms of update names, I mean, I like this one. It's very clear about what this update
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
what this update is. Doing a wedding update close to Valentine's Day. They're getting some like good holiday tie-in.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
have you played Fabledom at all, Bev?
I have not. I'm not sure if it will be one I pick up, but I do like the name of their update. Agree that it's really spot on. Unless there's like maybe it's a wedding for NPCs and we thought it was for us. But it's no, it's probably just a wedding that we can have ourselves in the game. But yeah. Have you played it?
I have not played it.
Okay.
But it does say in the dev diary that third dates are now available, and each one comes with a unique structure with its own feature connected to the date's objective. So I assume that applies to your character and their
Hmm.
ability to go on a date. Yeah. Once you complete your third
Hmm.
date, you can finally get married. Wow, 3 dates and then marriage. That is
Oh
very
goodness.
fast.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Hmm.
But you must, of course, throw a feast. And yeah, I mean, this looks like a really cool update for a game like this that introduces like some different building types and like I like the look of this game, even if it's not one that I
Hmm.
necessarily uh want to play. Actually, I feel like this might be the sort of game where I might like search out like a YouTuber who's doing, a playthrough of it and watch someone else play a game like this because it's kind of just,
Hmm.
very nice and relaxing to watch someone else who knows what they're doing play a game like this.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that like with city builders, I tend to like stress myself out. It's like I want
Yes.
a structure. Like I would tell me where to put the building and I would be happy to build it, but I'm not feeling creative right now. I don't want to build a city. This sounds like a too
Yeah.
big of a project for me right now.
And you like look at all the promotional stuff, you're like, that's exactly what I would like to build. And then you start playing, you're like, turns out it's really hard to build things like that nicely laid out and with that much intention. Um,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
and in
Yeah,
terms of
it'd
cool
be nice.
buildings, I've got a
Okay,
palace
so
that's
go
been
ahead.
added, and the palace looks very cool. So,
That's the only reason why I want this because it's giving me Shrek vibes.
mm,
Just from like Sir, what's this like face like Sir Fardun or I don't remember his name, but the little icon, a little person in the logo seems like it's that person from Shrek. But yeah, if it had like two settings where it could be like a structured version or a creative version, I'd be like all into it. But I think without that, I might pass because I have too many. I'm managing too many projects at work, and I don't want to manage more projects outside of work.
that is entirely fair. Um, Cool. So that is Fabled In. Uh, I feel like you might be the best to talk about this next piece of news. Research story now has Steam achievements.
Yes. I these I'm just looking at like the update on the devlog, and the icons for the Steam achievements look so cute. I want to get back in just so I can get these achievements.
I feel like they would make really cute like little pins or badges.
Research story, please get on top of that. I will take my money. I will throw money at you for these, for especially that cat mushroom pin, please. But yeah, let's see. I think they're also doing some other changes, but just minor fixes. They're like adding flowers and herbs with the dehydrator. It looks like seeds can now be used with the campfire to get roasted seeds. So a couple other just smaller things like that, and other quality of life updates. But I will be checking out what these Steam achievements are. There's 29 of them.
Nice. And it's just good to have, small things like this added to games like Research Story that just kind of gives you that reason to keep coming back.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Especially for the completionists, which I think every Pokemon fan is.
Like I think most cottagecore people are in some way a completionist. Maybe not,
True.
maybe not 100%er, but there's that thing that you're like, I have to do.
Yeah, that is a good point. And maybe why I've been liking more of the games that have like quest lines that are more structured, like Fae Farm or Summer and Mara.
Yeah, it's what I think kind of sucked me into Palia as well, right? Like at the start, it's got such a
Mm-hmm.
strong quest-driven aspect to it that I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with Disney Dreamlight.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's a great point. Yeah, Disney Dreamlight Valley, that was all quest-driven. So,
Yeah,
um,
there's nothing in there but quests.
yes.
Uh-huh.
Cool. So next on the list, we've got Slime Rancher 2. As Al's described it, they've got a kind of roadmap. There's an update coming in a few weeks that is going to allow players to do some more customization to the world around them with the ability to place gadgets nearly anywhere in the world. Um, it's kind of hard to be more specific on the update because it's kind of like a blog post that's been written without a lot of specifics behind it.
Mhm.
So I guess the thing is, if you're into Slime Rancher 2, then there are updates planned for summer 2024 and fall 2024 as well.
Mhm.
But I guess just pay attention to Slime Rancher 2 if that is a thing that you care about.
Mhm. I don't mind the more vagueness of the post because it doesn't really tie them into like really hard deadlines and then or really hard like features that they may not reach within the time frame. So I think this gives the dev team a little flexibility, which I will not fault them for.
Absolutely. Although the one that's coming in a few weeks, it might be nice to know what's in that one because that's got to be pretty locked in at this point, right?
True, true. I suppose, but like at this point, like you either playing it or you're not. And the last update was Cumbrian or Slime. So I suppose it would have been nice to have a name for the next update. But I don't know. I feel like if you were going to be playing this game, you would already be playing this or be just waiting for like a lull or something to pick it up again.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Usagi Shima. Looks like there is a update coming that maybe lets you take your bunny for a walk. So Usagi Shima is the mobile bunny collecting game, I guess is probably the way to describe it. There's an episode on it. It was December that episode came out.
Mm,
My assumption is that the taking the bunny for a walk is kind of like another request that the bunnies might have, like playing hide and seek or something like that with them. Like everything with Usagishima, it looks super cute.
hmm
So if you're into this game, then this is probably the way to. This is probably something that's pretty exciting.
hmm Yes, it looks very cute. I have not been playing it because I just can't keep up with mobile games, except for Twisted Wonderland. I can apparently keep up with that one.
What is Twisted Wonderland? Now I have to know.
Okay. So it's a Japanese Disney game, a Disney gotcha game specifically.
Oh no.
So it's Exactly. It's set in a school, I think called the Raven, never Raven. I forget what the
Savannah
Raven.
Claw?
Yes, there's different dorms. There's Savannah Claw, which is the Scar dormitory, and there's I believe 6 or 7 other dormitories based off of other Disney villains. Um, you have the Queen of Hearts, you have Ursula, you have Hades, and who else? I think there's like 1 or 2 that the Queen from Snow White, the evil Queen, and
Is there Corella? Is Corella in this game? That's what I want to know.
no. Oh, wait.
Ah,
Corella is in the game, but as
yes.
a teacher.
What? No, I
I
want to be
know.
able to roll gotchas for.
Sadly, you cannot be in Corella's house, but you can at least take classes from Corella. And there's also Gaston who teaches the flying lessons. And Lucifer from Cinderella makes the cat makes an appearance as being one of the teacher's pets.
Amazing.
So the story is actually there is a story element to it, and I really have enjoyed just slowly going through like the different books or the different chapters of each of the different dormitories, because each of them have their own like book and each their own storyline, and it is a gotcha game, but it's not to the extent of like being annoying that Pokemon Masters has been for me, or like even my Marvel Strike Force. So it feels more achievable for the events, and there's a lot more story elements to it, which I enjoy reading about since I love these characters. So I've been thoroughly enjoying it, and the outfits in the game, like the art, is just fantastic. So would recommend checking it out at some point.
I have maybe just downloaded this. The thing that seems most wild to
Beautiful.
me is that this is a like official like it has all of the vibes of being like a
Hmm.
bootleg sort of
Hmm.
Disney game, but like it's not. It's an official licensed thing, which is I don't know for some
Uh-huh.
reason it's a little brain breaking. It feels I guess a little bit out of step for what Disney usually does, and it's probably because it's
It
very anime
does.
vibes.
Uh-huh. So maybe that's why they're not marketing it more because it's clearly like set for a more Japanese audience with like the few, I think, American like folks that are aware about it. But it is also wild that I think it could be bigger had they advertised it a little bit more or marketed more. But it's fine. I'm playing it and I am enjoying it, and that's all I care about.
Right. Well, I'm going to be messaging you about this game because I am. It's going to
Oh my
be.
goodness, please, please.
So, listeners, if you've been playing Disney Dreamlight Valley and you're worried it wasn't anime enough, download this game.
Yes, do it.
All right, we've got some news because if the one thing like there's not that many cottagecore games. There's only like 2 or 3 that come out a year. But
Right.
excitingly, we've got some more to add to the list. So
Hmm.
it will be.
Never be
We're
too
going to
many.
never be too many. Oh my god! All right, so first one we've got on the list is Tales of Psyche.
I think so. That sounds right.
Great. Probably without the implied question mark at the end.
Yes.
Their Kickstarter is live now, and it is already fully funded.
Hmm.
Which is exciting for them. And so this is a RPG farming sim where I guess the thing that makes it unique is a yokai inspired world. And in
Hmm.
the trailer, they show your character changing into, and I'm probably gonna get this wrong, so I will admit I'm not like up to speed on yokai, but changing into various yokai, I assume is the correct way of stating it. So, and that's how you can do a lot of the farming. So I think they show a boar style character that does a lot of like the plowing, some sort of like waterish blob that does the watering. And
Hmm.
I think at some point they show like a bird as well, and you can potentially fly around. So that looks pretty cool.
Hmm. Hmm. They might
Um,
be calling them forms and not like different yokai
yes,
or
yeah, that's
yokais.
that's probably
Um,
right.
but they look fantastic, and this sounds almost like the Pokemon like new feature where you could just turn yourself into Pokemon and run around. But I feel like this is gonna be better than that.
I agree. Yeah, it looks really good.
It
Um,
does.
my only concern, so they're in a Kickstarter, right? Which is, it's how a lot of these games get developed, and the trailer
Mhm.
looks incredible. I don't know if there's anything that stands out as unique other than the changing into the different forms. The thing that is giving me a little bit of pause with this one is some of the features that are on their stretch goal roadmap feel to me like the sort of things that I guess I expect to be standard for these sort of games. So,
Yeah.
like the first stretch goal, which they have already hit, was to have a female protagonist. Further down the list, there are things like character customization, and some things like that. That it just gives me a little bit of pause around, I guess, how feature rich a game like this will be.
I feel like that was the exact like reaction I had. Like looking at the art, I was very excited by the look and feel of this game. But as soon as I was scrolling down the campaign and I saw that having like a different gender for the main character was locked behind like an update, just felt icky to me. So that was like immediately turned me off. Like just either have it from the beginning or don't. Just kind of weird to have that as a stretch goal.
Yeah.
But but otherwise, I feel like I really enjoy everything other than like the romancing of it so far.
Yes. Yeah, the romancing in the trailer was a bit odd, I have to
hmm
admit.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, it looks like a cool game, like it's funded, so I was gonna say it's happening, but it's Kickstarter, we've all been around long enough that I mean, I guess it means it's not dead yet. I think
hmm
there's a lot of potential. It looks really exciting. They've really nailed the visual style. I think the proof of this one
Oh
will
yeah.
be in, like all of these games, right? How does it play when you're able to get your hands on it?
Yeah, exactly. Like just for the art style alone and how beautiful like the three like animation looks, I'm all into it. So I don't know if I'll back it or just wait for it to come out. I guess I'll wait and see, but I would not be surprised if I pick this up at some point.
Yeah, and I guess in terms of the Kickstarter, to get access to the game whenever it comes out, that's about $20, which is, I think,
Mhm.
pretty reasonable. Like,
Oh yeah.
if you're willing to take the risk, like that's, I assume, a bit of a discount on what this game will be when it launches, but you've got the additional, risk of it not coming out. So, if that's something you're into, I'm assuming Al has already backed this.
Oh wait,
uh,
I retract what I said. I would be interested in backing it for the pets, the Kickstarter pets only.
I have not come across the Kickstarter pits yet, but I'm sure
Oh,
there's a few.
it's like all almost all the way down. If you scroll down, at some point there's a dog, like right at the end before like the development and platforms. Um there's a Kickstarter exclusive cat and dog, which look very cute.
Oh, they do look very cute.
Right? Ugh,
Yeah. Is that a Shiba Inu? I think that's a Shiba
I
Inu.
think so. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, these are pretty cute.
Mhm.
How dare they use like rewards to make
How
you it?
dare like how like they know their audience too much. Like we're
Yep.
here for the cozy farming and for the pets. How dare you make this a Kickstarter exclusive? I'm
Right?
hoping they will have different versions of cats and dogs, but maybe the specific like skin of the cat and dog is exclusive to Kickstarter. We'll see. If
That's
not,
my
you can
assumption
have
as
your
well.
Kai's pets. So
Yeah. All
yeah.
right. So that is Tales of Saiku. Yeah, it looks really cool. But obviously, like the estimated delivery date is December 2024,
Mhm.
which is, I would say an ambitious timeline based on, how we've seen Kickstarters go in the past. So
Mhm.
sign up if you're interested. And if you're not, we'll be giving more updates as they come out right here on the harvest season. Next game we've got is Garden Life, a cozy simulator. No, that is not a description of the game. That is, in fact, the title of, a strong contender for the worst name in farming gaming. Uh, this is a relaxing gardening game in which you create your dream garden in a peaceful, colorful world. Plant and add ornaments at your own pace, transforming an overgrown, forgotten plot into a flourishing community garden. So this is coming on the 22nd of February to Windows, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch, so to all platforms. And it looks like a first-person garden growing sort of simulator. I was trying to think when I was watching the trailer what the art style reminds me of.
Mhm.
And it kind of reminds me of a lot of those puzzle games that I feel like, kind of were
Oh.
popular like 5 or 10 years ago, where they were maybe a little bit more sort of point and click or kind of like almost
Mhm.
maybe a little VR-ish in the style. I don't know. There was something about it
Mhm.
that I couldn't quite find the direct comparison that I was looking for. But it's kind of like that almost realistic without being realistic sort of art style.
Mhm. I feel like if you were to take like the Miyazaki films and make them more realistic, no, not Miyazaki, that's wrong. Studio Ghibli
Hmm.
films and make them have a more realistic lens. This is what it would look like, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a really good description.
I love it, even though the name is terrible.
So, what is it about it that stood out to you?
Uh, I think it just how floral and like it truly has that cottagecore vibe to it. Like this looks like the skin that people would want to add to your Stardew Valley like farm. But just the whole world is designed in this very cottagecore like floral style, and I love it. But other than
Eh,
that, I don't. That's nothing more than that. I think just the art style.
Interesting. Yeah, okay, that makes sense because that's probably the thing that didn't really resonate for me. It's not an art style that really um, connects for me, and I think that's to me it seems like the determining feature for this game. Nothing really stood out as being super unique, but I think the idea of just sort of building a garden and hopefully that's the smaller scale makes this for like a good version of what it's trying to be.
Hmm. Also, I just Googled it, and Miyazaki is the director of Studio Ghibli, and that makes me feel a little better that I remembered it correctly. Uh-huh. I
Cool.
don't
Yes.
love the first person. Oh, sorry. I was gonna add, I don't love the first person aspect of it, though. I
Yeah, I think
I don't like it.
it's a good call in terms of removing some of the stuff that we were just talking about with the previous game around like character customization and stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
just doing first person is a great way to kind of not have to put that
Avoid
into
that.
your game.
Hmm.
Um, and actually, I've now this is useful because it's now helped me connect with kind of what it gave me vibes of is games like Power Wash Simulator. I don't think this looks quite as good as Power Wash Simulator, but it's that first person, in a small environment where you're sort of interacting with the world around you. It kind of gives me similar vibes to that. So, which is
Hmm.
maybe talked myself into liking it more because I really like Power Wash Simulator. So,
Uh-huh.
and the thought of like doing that first person, growing or developing a garden is actually kind of I'm getting tempted. Getting tempted.
I am also getting tempted because it's like if I were truly gardening IRL, I feel like this is pretty close to how it would look like, I think, like first person and the realistic like art style. So I yeah, it's going to scratch an itch, so I might get it. We'll
Right.
see.
Cool. So that is Garden Life, a cozy simulator. And if you're struggling to search for it, just throw in every generic word associated with cottagecore games, and it should come up. Coming out 22nd of Feb.
Hmm.
And finally, we have Grimshire. A deadly plague threatens the village of Grimshire. Manage your farmland, forage the bounty of the wilds, prevent your harvest from rotting away, and keep the root cellar full. Can you help bring the community together and survive? Uh, this is coming Q1 2025 to early access. Um, it looks like I guess you're an animal in Grimshire
Hmm.
rather than being a human character. They have some pre-alpha footage up on the Steam page. I don't know that I love the art style. It's a very simple art style,
Hmm.
which doesn't necessarily mean bad.
Hmm.
It just feels to me the color palette feels very grey. So I'm kind of
It
hoping they get
does.
some more color into it just to make the world sort of visually more appealing. Because I actually think the art style could work quite well. It's just missing something for me. I guess I'm interested in seeing more about what the intent is behind the game. You know, with the name of
Hmm.
Grimshire. In the trailer, they sort of show the starting thing where it sounds like your village that your character lived in beforehand was, destroyed or something like that. And so the sort of
Hmm.
like dark overtone to the game is an interesting angle. And I'm
Uh-huh.
curious to see where they take it.
Hmm. Like if they're going to lean harder into like a Goblin Core vibe as opposed to some of the other, I guess,
Yeah.
games. I am. If they do, I feel like I'm definitely going to want this because I'm already very intrigued by like the apocalyptic feel. And I guess I don't know if it's going to be part survival because you're a plague is coming, I guess. So I'm not sure how they'll incorporate that into the story and gameplay, but interested to learn more about it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair description. And one of the things I'll say for a game where yes, it's curated, but they're showing pre-alpha footage. They show quite a bit in there. You know, like they show everything that you would expect to see in a farming style game, but they show
Hmm.
some of like the construction or like building sort of stuff where it seems like laying paths and things like that. You can actually. Draw the shape and then just place it all rather than having to place it tile by tile. So it looks like there's some cool, thoughts that I've got around, quality of life sort of stuff, which I guess is just really good to see at a game that's very early in the development life cycle.
Hmm. And I'm seeing that they had a previous game that they released the studio, and it's called Bones Cafe. And now I'm intrigued by learning a little bit more about this about this specific particular dev, and maybe even looking into this other what appears to be a couch co-op cooking game.
Yeah, Oats Cafe looks pretty cute, I'm gonna say.
Right?
I am into the style of this.
Uh-huh.
It's giving very like it is giving very overcooked vibes, but
It does.
it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Hmm. I haven't played Overcooked, so maybe this would be a more fun way to play it if it is indeed a similar play style or game. But
Yeah.
I will likely be watching this one. I'm gonna wish list it now.
All right, that's all of our news. How you feeling after all that news, Biff?
Like my wallet is gonna be very tired in the near future.
That is entirely fair. But if your wallet is feeling tired and you need to go back to something that you already own that has a great free update, boy, let's talk about Stardew Valley 1.5.
That was an amazing segue.
Uh, so look, to kick off the conversation about Stardew Valley 1.5, I just kind of want to talk generally about how you feel it fits into Stardew as a whole. Like, do you feel like it adds more to the experience and that, now if you went back and played one of the earlier patches, something would be missing? Do you feel it's more like a, good standalone piece of content? Where are you at on what was included in the 1.5 update? And I guess just to be explicit, the main thing when we're talking about Stardew Valley 1.5 is Ginger Island.
Mhm. I I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it kind of fit into like the more like quirky aspects of the Stardew Valley um like world, I guess. It kind of fits into like the wizard like having like magic exists inside the world, and it's not surprising that this like island is off on the side somewhere nearby from Stardew Valley. It like I don't know, it feels along the lines of those quirky like NPCs. Maybe not some more your typical like romanceable characters, but there's like more of a story that I'm intrigued to know about some of the newer like NPCs that were introduced. It's there is like a beach, so I suppose it's not unreasonable to think that there would be a tropical like island located somewhere to the south of or adjacent to Stardew Valley. Um, so I don't know. I feel like it still aligns with the world as just introducing a different area of it, and I would be interested to see if they kind of explore that a little bit more in maybe future updates or what have you. But that's kind of my feel of it. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm similar. Like overall, I love everything that's in the 1.5 update, but I almost feel like it's a separate game to base Stardew Valley. It doesn't to me, I feel like I could go back and play Stardew Valley 1.4 and not feel like anything was missing. Because
True.
Ginger Island, I think, feels so disconnected. I'm sure there's probably some quality of life stuff that's included within 1.5 because it's a huge update that I would
Hmm.
probably miss a little bit. But it feels so separate. And I think for me, the biggest tension that I felt because when we decided we were going to do a 1.5 episode, I went back and started an entirely new farm because I just wanted to see like what was different. And I feel like the first year felt like every other first year of Stardew Valley that I've played until I completed the community center, unlocked the boat. But
Hmm.
then I felt a really strong tension of like, but I've got this farm in my regular farm that I've invested all of this time and energy and care into, and I'm constantly being
Hmm.
pulled to this island. And so on Ginger Island, there is a new farm that you can develop, and there's a farmhouse, so you can stay there if you want. I was kind of not interested in doing that because I'd developed a farm already. Like I didn't want to
Hmm.
do that again. I was interested in everything else Ginger Island had to offer, but the
Hmm.
the farm piece, I guess, felt very disconnected, and so I more interacted with Ginger Island in the same way that I do like the desert, right, where it's a place I would go.
Hmm.
And I would go there almost every single day, but then I would still go back to my home farm every single night.
Hmm. I definitely agree with you there. I think initially was very frustrated with having an additional farm to manage. There was some pros to having it, like additional income to get crops faster, or help me fulfill like completion goals, like being able to sell all these different crops and certain numbers of them quicker than I might have been able to with only one farm. But I did find that after I essentially beat the game by the 2 years of getting grandpa's approval. um I did find that I was only just staying on Ginger Island because it was just too much to be going back and forth. And there were a few like quality of life improvements that they included with this game and with this with this update, like the very small chests that you could uh, access either way in each farm. But I was still, I think, frustrated in having to like essentially create two separate sets of chests with all the same materials, but located and available on each different island so that I can have everything I need at my fingertips. Looking at Dreamlight Valley and how I bought the DLC and how they did that. I very much prefer that version of it where they have the house essentially the same in either location. So you're not really having to form two different organizational systems separately, but essentially exact copies of each other.
Mm-mm.
So I think I would have enjoyed that the farm is itself if it was just a mirror image, or if you could choose whether or not you want to manage two different farms. Because I that was like a whole bunch of work, and I was just like, I'm gonna pick one island to
Yep.
stay on. So it's either gonna be original or the new one. And most likely I was at the new one to try to accommodate the all the different goals that came out of the update.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. I was curious to get your opinion on that because I wasn't sure if what I was feeling was sort of um out of the norm or not. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good idea and it's good to have the optionality there. I kind of almost wish there was just a version of the game where it's just like, hey, just start me on Ginger Island, right? Like just start me with that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be a Ginger Island sort of based character.
Ooh, it would be cool if they could almost mirror the storyline a little bit. Like there was a community center on Ginger Island. If you chose to start on Ginger Island as opposed to the regular valley, and you would have to work towards essentially beating the game by unlocking the community center, and then you can unlock the regular Stardew Valley area, and then meet all your like regular NPCs. So there could be pros and cons to starting on either island. So if you're like Al and don't want to talk to anyone, you can start on Ginger Island. or
Uh,
and wait for them to eventually visit the island, and you just slowly start to like get to know them that way.
and then instead of letting them visit the island, you just build a wall and keep them all out.
Oh my goodness, yes, just never
Uh,
open it up, never fix it.
but it's funny, right? Because I think that's a really good idea, and I think there would be a really simple way to do it, and it's probably a good segue into one of the main features of Ginger Island, which is the golden walnuts. So they're sort of a
Mhm.
collectible that's on Ginger Island. I think there's like 100 and something golden walnuts.
130.
130.
130. I
Yeah.
just checked my completion status, so that's how I
Amazing.
know.
And I think that's
Uh-huh.
something that you could tie, like you could, if you wanted to do the community center thing,
Ooh.
you could just tie unlocking, because some of the golden walnuts you get through just doing things like farming or fishing on the
Mhm.
island. But if you hadn't completed the community center, maybe maybe there's more specific challenges you have to do in order to unlock those specific golden
Ooh.
walnuts.
I really like that because it's definitely not easy to get to that point. And I probably put in as many hours as it took to unlock the community center. So I would agree. I think that would be a fantastic way to kind of juggle different like versions of how to start this game.
And what did you think of the golden walnuts in general? So I guess just as a quick explainer, um, as Bev said, there's 130. You get some through doing actions like fishing or farming or doing the mines, and then there's a number that are locked behind various puzzles, and it could just be dig in a certain location or there's certain areas based on the way the world works. We've got to walk behind this tree, and it's maybe not super obvious where the path is to get there, and kind of getting to some hidden locations. And then there's a few more that you get through some of the quests on the island and things like that. So what do you think of the golden walnuts?
Um, I I almost like equate them to the notes that are available on the base game or base valley in the valley. So similar in that they're kind of there if you want to actively try to collect them all, but it's not really a necessity, if I recall correctly.
Well, it is
Correct.
in the aspect that you need golden walnuts to unlock various areas of the island.
True.
So the
True.
island
No,
kind of
you're
develops
right.
but you don't need to collect all of them. I think you probably need
Mhm.
I think it's about 80. I think you need in order to unlock most of the core stuff on the island.
Okay. I'm looking at the wiki now, and it looks like it's 160 to unlock all of the awards. But I don't know. Like some of those might be like one's a farmhouse, like mailbox. So I don't think that's that's not necessary to really fully experience. I think the Ginger Island of it. So some of it could be. You may not need all 116 is what I'm trying to get at. Um, I think I would like it better if there was some sort of tracking system to show like where and when you got them. Because I could see it being very frustrating to be like, okay, I have like 30 of them now. I don't remember how I got these, and now I'm trying to actively collect more of them. So I have to kind of rule out by just checking out like the wiki or something else by verifying that I am on the path that I need to be in and searching where I need to search for additional walnuts. Unless I'm misremembering. But I don't recall there being like a tracking system for that.
So there's not an explicit tracking system, and I agree with your point. I think it needed one. There is the so the parrots on the island give you hints about walnuts that you don't
Mm-hmm.
have, which I
Mm-hmm.
guess is meant to be the version of that, which is that's fine when you're sort of in the mid stages and you've found all of the ones that are obvious and you're not sure where to look next and you don't want to open something out. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
at, you've got most of them completed, the hint's probably not going to help you find it. And then, yeah, having to go to the wiki to look it up is just a bit frustrating. It would be nice if there was even if it was one of the last unlocks, is like, hey, unlock the golden walnut tracking system so you can see what ones you still have to collect, or something like that would be quite nice. But in general, I think I enjoyed the idea of what they were trying to do with the walnuts. Just trying to get you to
Mm-hmm.
experience everything on Ginger Island. I thought it was a good variation on something like the idea of a community center, because that's the
Mm-hmm.
same idea behind the community center, right? And I do like your comparison to the notes. Um, for me, it's probably between the community center and the notes, somewhere in that realm. But I think it
Mm-hmm.
did a good job of getting you to sort of at least give everything a go on the island, right? Because I was probably not going to do any fishing on the island until I was like, oh, there's golden walnuts in the water. Okay, I guess I'll do some fishing now because I just don't love
Uh-huh.
fishing. So it was good in
Mm-hmm.
that respect.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, and it definitely forced me to like think about like or not even. I just went to the wiki to find everything, honestly. But it so it has been a while since I unlike you did not start over to get into this game. I was working towards 100% completion status, so that's where I was working towards. So I have all 130, but I don't remember how I quite got to 130. But I'm currently like working on I think 100% completion of the game, and I it was I think a little frustrating at times to have to find them. Some of them were easier than others, but it some of them were satisfying even after I figured out the puzzle. There was like one puzzle game. I think it was specifically a game that I failed several times, and that got a little frustrating to win it.
Yeah.
What is that game?
I don't remember.
It's like really. It's not at
Oh,
all
there's the
obvious.
memory one, right? Isn't there the sign where it
Yes,
says
yes.
memory one? Yes.
Yeah, I as I have shown earlier with like my confusion about whether it was Miyazaki or Studio Ghibli, my memory is not great, so I struggled along with it.
Yeah, I think I failed that one quite a few times as well because
Uh-huh.
it got quite hard. Like they flashed quite quickly, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
Cool. So in terms of what was on Ginger Island, so you've got, there's the um four directions. So you've got the north side of the island, which has the the mine and the volcano. You've got the east side, which is where Leo, if I remember rightly, I think is the kid's name. That's
Hmm.
where he hangs out. You've got sort of the south, which is your beach area, and then the west, which has the farmhouse and kind of I guess a slightly bigger area for exploring. Maybe if
Hmm.
we start with talking about the volcano and the what they did with the mines in this one. What did you think of that?
I feel like they took the skull mines and recreated them here, so the same level of stress was prevalent. Although I think I got to the point where I could master it without dying too much. So I wouldn't say I did not enjoy it. I do I think spend most of my time in the mines. during any like playthrough, especially early. I'm usually that one that will, if I'm playing like multiplayer, will volunteer willingly to go into the mines. But I think I generally did enjoy it after I figured out how to not die so often.
Yeah. And I guess it's good in that it was only 10 levels this time.
Yeah.
So it was different in that you weren't trying to go deep. You kind of knew what the end point was for this one, which I think is
Hmm.
um, a little bit better than Skull Cave. And
Hmm.
one of the cool things that they introduced is the using the watering can to
Yes.
I was gonna say freeze the lava, but that's not the right word. But harden the lava, I guess, so that you can walk
Hmm.
across it, which I think is pretty cool.
I thought that was pretty clever. Yeah, I definitely like that. And I think some of the newer, I think monsters are also pretty they grow on you, I think, after a while. Like the false magma cap one that would just jump out of nowhere, thinking you were just gonna collect a little magma cap, but then it turns out to be a death waiting for you.
Yeah, yeah. I
um
think I enjoyed
I
the monsters quite a bit.
uh-huh. Or the dwarves like sentry. Like I want to learn a little bit more about these monsters. The sprites, the little magma like floating around thing. I hated the lava lurk ones that would sit in the lava and throw bones at you. I also hated because at times it was really hard to hit them. But I suppose that could be a good way to encourage you to try different weapons. Like I never played with the slingshot. Maybe this would be the time to play with them. I don't know, but
Eh,
I had to
it's
farm
never time for
them.
slingshot.
I had to farm them for bone fragments or dragon tooth or something, and I did not enjoy that experience.
Yeah, no, I think I enjoyed this more than Skull Cavern. I find extremely stressful, mostly because of those giant flying bug things that just I don't
Hmm.
know, they just murder me. They're too difficult. I feel like um this is probably what I want the mines to be more so in games, and I think is what I've enjoyed in
Hmm.
whether it was in Fae Farm or in Coral Island, is when the mines are shorter and have a distinct, I guess, purpose to the end of them. And then, you can kind of move on to the next one or do it again. And there's a reason for doing it again. I think that works quite well. So
Hmm.
this kind of gets a thumbs up for me in terms of mines in the game. It's probably my favorite of all of the mines that are in Stardew.
Interesting. I don't know. I feel like I still like the original ones. Maybe it's just because I spent so much time in them. But I definitely will prefer this one over Skull Caverns because for all the reasons you said. It doesn't see it isn't I might be misremembering, but I'm gonna say I'm forgetting what my point was, but I really just scratch that. Let's move on. I'm sorry.
So at the end of the at the end of the volcano, you get to the forge, and the forge is a really cool addition
Oh
in
yes.
1.5, where you can utilize gems, and that's probably one of the great things is it gives gems an actual purpose in the game to upgrade weapons and tools. So there's a bunch of enhancements you can add to them. We won't talk about the details of what they are. But they're all kind of cool things that you would expect from any sort of farming game, and it just allows you to kind of, I guess, customize your gameplay a bit and add on things that you might like. Yeah, so I really like the Forge. I thought it was a cool little addition to the game, and having that thing to do at the end of the volcano.
Hmm. I feel like I feel like the mine I'm sorry, the forge was a little overwhelming to me with all the additional like options for what I could be doing with it. So I think I again just went to like the wiki to kind of figure out what it was that I wanted. But
Oh
I
yeah,
recall
100%. It is not obvious, like at all. Like within the game, it's not clear at
yes.
all how to use the forge, but it can do some pretty cool things.
Hmm. And if I'm recalling correctly, I think it was easier to get iridium in the volcano than it was in Skull Cavern. Do
I
you remember
think
that?
I do recall. I think that was easier because I'm pretty sure I got all my iridium sprinklers on my farm, and I don't think I ventured into Skull
Hmm.
Cavern that much. So I think that's correct.
Okay, because I really did enjoy that option of like not needing to prep for doomsday of just spending a whole day in Skull Cavern and having like 100 stacks of like food to prevent me from dying. So I did appreciate that level of like quality of life improvement, that it was a little easier to get some of the rare ore deposits.
Yeah. Um. Anything else? Oh, the only other thing I have to say on the north side of the island is there's the bone mine. I don't know what to call it, but the
Hmm.
section before you get into the dungeon, I guess, where you can mine various rocks and get bones out of them. And there's like a mini museum where you're trying to collect the various bone structures
Hmm.
for some various animals. It was kind of in the realm of like, I mean, this is a cool little version of the museum,
Hmm.
but wasn't really deep enough or kind of big enough or interesting enough to really. It was kind of just a fine little thing that was there, but it wasn't, a massive part of 1.5.
Hmm. I also really liked the little dig site, so I think I spent a lot of time making sure it was cleaned out because it was one of my favorite. Like I just love filling out the museum. So I think it was probably one of the first things that I fully like completed on Ginger Island, just because I got a lot of enjoyment out of it, and it felt like nice and contained and like pretty obvious that this is where you would find the things to nowhere else. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Maybe we can talk about the rest of the island as a whole, because I'm not sure that there's like the rest of the island is kind of um, there's less stuff, I guess, to interact with. Is there anything in specific that you wanted to talk about?
Uh, yes, I love the little Pirates Cove, and I actually misspoke. There, some of the artifacts or fossils are located throughout the island, so you are required to kind of go do things around the island. So I misspoke about that, but the Pirate Cove, I think, was my favorite. I wish there was more to do there. I don't know if is that what it's called, the Pirate Cove?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was fantastic. I liked how it changed. I think was it like during the day and versus the night. It would switch to a different like scene. I need to find it on the wiki so I can confirm that I'm remembering this correctly.
Yeah, I think it did change, and yeah, I kind of had to say, thought like I wanted to like it, but I just there was nothing really to do there, or not
Hmm.
enough to do to make it super interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, that I want them to make it bigger because this it was a little cute. It was just a cute idea. They could have been NPCs, additional NPCs that you could um like get to know here. So I feel like this was kind of like a missed opportunity. And it looks like they, depending on the day, the time of day, and if it's rainy or not, is when the pirates would appear. Sorry, they only appear on even number days. That's so odd. See, I want to know why. Like, why are they
That's so
only
odd.
appearing? Right? It's only on non-rainy, even number days of the month, and only after 8 p.m. Like that's so specific.
Yeah.
You can play darts, and I think I really enjoyed the darts game as well. So I just want more of the Pirate Cove, and I want more Pirate Cove story.
Me too. Maybe we'll get it in Haunted Chocolatier.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think I have too much else to add. I wish there was more. And I think that's kind of true for how I feel about the rest of the island. Like, there's a
Hmm.
lot of interesting story that you get hints at. There's
Hmm.
Leo, who's kind of the NPC that introduces you to the island and how important the parrots are to the island. And there's a few other NPCs that you do quests for on the island, and they hint at some of the story that's really interesting. And I don't mind it, right? Like, I don't need every story to be sort of fully explained and finished. I just kind of wish there was a bit more around some of it.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Like you meet Mr. Chi, and there's like he is so like he's literally called like a mysterious stranger, and does he have to be mysterious? Can I just know a little bit more about him? And yeah, I feel like it. I would have, I think, enjoyed the NPCs had they just had a little bit more development, similar to the other NPCs. I think you do still get cutscenes with their friendships, or am I misremembering that?
I don't recall. I
Okay.
can't even recall if you can form friendships with them. It's not something I necessarily care that much about in Stardew, so I'm probably not the
Oh, I
most
track
of
them.
no most of my
I have
playthroughs
a
of
little app.
Stardew. I have like my partner, my spouse, who likes me, and everyone else is at like 1 or 2 stars because I don't care.
Okay, I confirming that there are no cutscenes. At least there aren't any listed on the wiki, and I don't think you have hearts with them either. So that's, I think, a missed opportunity for me because I have an app where I track all the cutscenes as well because I don't know why I'm like this, but I'm 100% completionist, and apparently experiencing all the cutscenes is on that list.
Amazing.
So and like I feel like we get a little bit of their backstory, and I just want more. Like I don't need to marry them. It's like once like a child, I don't need no. But it would just be nice to, I think, just get a little like more rounded out like story of um their character. I think Leo is the most ran out, just because you can eventually invite him over to the valley, I think, if I recall correctly.
Oh, I don't recall that at all.
Okay, so Leo, I think, is the only one who has hearts. So at 6 hearts of friendship, he can move to the mainland and will become friends with Linus, Jazz, and Vincent. So I don't think I quite got to that point yet, but it was one of the goals I had for getting Leo's friendship.
Cool. What
Oh,
about the?
oh,
Oh, sorry, you go.
Leo has heart events. That's where I was thinking of. Leo has cutscenes,
Ah,
I think.
I don't think I encountered any of those. I think Leo and I are like 1 star, one heart events.
Oh. Oh wait, now no. Maybe it's not cutscenes. Maybe I just got letters in the mail from him. I forget. I don't know. Don't trust me. I don't trust anything I say.
It's a great quality to have for a podcast host. Don't trust
I
anything that they
know.
say.
Yes, it makes it so much more interesting. You just don't know if
uh,
it's real or not. You have to find out for yourselves. But you have to listen in and then verify.
amazing, amazing. All right, let's chat about new crops that so there's the like mahogany tree, you've got the ostrich
Mhm,
for a farm animal, there's mangoes, bananas new. I feel like they were new. There's
they're
I
new.
don't there's a bunch of new stuff that's kind of like just related um to having a farm on an island. It's kind of
Hmm.
more of the same. I think that for me, the best addition was the mahogany tree. That's probably the thing
Yes.
I would miss the most if I had to go back to an earlier version because it gives hardwood. Um, and having an easy supply
Hmm.
of that, I think, was really nice. But other than that,
Hmm.
I'm not sure that it's just more different crops, I guess.
I will say well, in addition to the mahogany, because I feel like that was just also another like quality of life improvement. I really love the taro roots because you
Mm,
can plant them by the water and they never needed any watering and would just grow faster. I feel like they're kind of similar to the rice in that instance, but I don't know. I planted a lot of them and made a lot of money off of them. So that was one of my cash crops, I feel like.
yeah, I never really tried that much, but I thought it was cool to have a crop that interacted and grew differently than everything else
Hmm.
that we've had today.
Hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I just
So
had one more big thing to talk about on my list for 1.5, and that is the perfection tracker. Um,
yes.
so this is a thing that basically kind of, I guess, it introduces like a 100% completion tracker, and there's all sorts of things on it, like of getting perfection. You've got to ship one of every single crop and forage item. reach level 10 in every skill, find all the star drops. Like it's kind of just like literally do everything in the game, um, which is insane. So
Mhm.
Bev, how close are you? How close are you?
Okay, I took screenshots of it because I was like, I probably want to share because I spent a lot of time working towards it. So in total, I am 67 way of the 67% complete with the game. Let's see, I have 99% of the produce and forage shipped. I have all 4 obelisks. I don't have the golden clock yet. I'm the monster slayer here. Great friends are 40%. Farmer level is 25 out of 25. I have not found all the star drops yet. I have made 85% of the cooking recipes and 54% of the crafting. I've caught all the fish and have found all of the walnuts. So with all of that, I'm at 67%.
That is like very close. I feel like the stuff that you've got to go isn't too difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Although I
I
am
really
curious,
focus on the produce
yeah,
and the
what
fish.
are you missing from the
It's the
produce?
friendships,
From the
friendships,
produce, because you said
and
you're 99% on produce and forage. I really want to know what you're missing.
mhm. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'll open it up and now to look at
All
it.
right.
But it's like one I think probably like one like really hard to get or only like it's the root. I don't know. I'll look it up. But the crafting I think recipes is also one of the more difficult ones for me because I'm only at like 45% of that, so I haven't spent too much time with trying to craft everything.
Yeah, although presumably by the time you come to do that one, you'll have so much in the way of resources. You kind of just go through, craft, 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 craft. Shouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
too bad. Once you're ready to sort of lock in and do that one. And
Very
you
true.
like missing one of the star drops with how much you've played seems nuts, right? Given that they increase your energy.
Uh-huh. Maybe I just didn't know. Like
Mm.
I don't think I realized I was missing a startup. Now I'm gonna have to like go back and try to recreate like what I have and haven't done.
Yeah.
It's okay. I can't see which one is missing, but it's right next to the snow yam on the produce on the item shipped page. Is that
Interesting.
ancient fruit? No, I have shipped ancient fruit. It's gonna bother me. Is
Yeah,
it
now
like the hazelnut? No, it's not the hazelnut. Hold on. I'm gonna look on the wiki and tell me
all
have
right.
the wiki tell me what I'm missing.
Um, so while you're looking that up, actually, just to make sure I don't spoil it, do you know what you get for reaching 100% perfection score?
Oh, I don't off the top of my head. I think there is
Uh,
something.
yeah, so there are some things that you get for getting 100%. So there's a statue that you get. I think it's because I think there was like an earlier perfection statue, and I think this is like it's now got the name of like the statue of true perfection or something like that. So it's, getting more perfecter. Which I think we need like I need an owl ruling on like how does that fit into like 100%ing, because if you have a statue of perfection, you can't then have a statue of true perfection because that means your first perfection wasn't real
It's imperfect.
perfection. Yeah, so. Um, there's that. There's
Yeah,
some stuff
but
around getting some golden stuff, and there's a cutscene as
oh
well.
right. Mm-hmm.
And I have already accepted that I am never going to get the statue of true perfection, and so I have watched the cutscene, and it is magical. I won't spoil anything about it. I feel like if you work towards it, I bet it's like even more magicaler, because those are real words.
Yes,
um,
they are.
but it feels like a great ending um, for the game.
I think I believe I watched it, and I believe it's exactly what you said, and I look forward to one day achieving it. The item that I'm missing to ship is the sweet gem berry, which makes sense why it's I think was harder for me to find because it's like you only buy it. I think you only buy it from the oh, it's from the rare seed that you can get from
Right. You get from
the traveling cart.
the traveling merchant here.
So I'll grow it eventually, and then I'll get my 100% there, and I'll work on my friendships. I'll do it at some point. I had to take a break from Stardew. I think once I got 130 walnuts, so I was like, I am burnt out.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I will one day achieve even truer perfection.
Even more true perfection.
Uh-huh. And I feel like there is one other thing I want to capture before we like wrap up. And Al, I feel like would be very upset had we not talked about it, which is the automation components that 1.5 introduced, which isn't a lot more than what was already there, but it allowed you to have the fertilization automatically like uh automated with the nozzles, the custom sprinkler nozzles. Have you used any of those yet?
No, I don't think I did play with those. I don't recall these at all, so I feel like this is something I skipped over.
Okay. They were only available from the Cheese or Key Mr. Cheese. I don't I can't. Mr. Key's shop.
Mhm.
So you would have to use a currency. I think it's like key points in order to purchase them that you would get through key challenges, which are not easy to use or to fulfill. But once you fulfill one of his challenges, you're able to, use spend points towards his shop. And there the two different nozzles are in there. So there's one called the pressure nozzle, which will expand the range of your sprinkler. And there's another one called the enricher, which allows you to load fertilizers in it, and so it would automatically fertilize the soil as you're planting crops, I guess, which I really enjoyed. Although I suppose it depends on the types of crops you're using. If you're using um, like crops that just keep renewing, like tomatoes that could just keep harvesting from, I think tomatoes are that way. Then it's not really helpful. But for crops that like star drops or star fruits, I think you would have to continuously replant them. So it's helpful for that.
Nice. Yeah, those sound like small upgrades, but probably by the time you're sort of getting them, because those key
True.
challenges are quite hard, like you're probably at the point where you already have infinite money and like, yeah, it kind of feels like nice quality of life, but almost too late to really do anything super meaningful.
Uh-huh. Um, that's exactly right. And I think it's only going to be useful for those 100%ers trying to get to that 100%.
Yeah.
So helping you on the way to on your journey to greatness. I think
Uh,
there are a couple other things that were on there in the shop, and I'm going to look that up real quick because I think there are a couple other items that were really nice to have. But again, like probably too late. I I'm not seeing like an easy link to the shop. So maybe we just scratch that and don't cover it. Oh, oh no, I found it. Okay. So you can get the Junimo chest, which is that one chest that allows you to link between both farms, but it only has like 9 slots in it. So it's not terribly helpful, I think, that late in the game. And it's such a small footprint of what's actually can go like transfer back and forth between each farm. So it's not terribly helpful. It's only helpful if like your pockets are full, but you need to keep one or two items available to you. Um, there's a horse flute, which I really enjoy, which will allow you to summon your horse anywhere. So if you're like me like, and get distracted because I have ADHD and hop off my horse and forget where I left my horse, but still want to use my horse throughout the day, the horse flute could be helpful. There's a hopper, which allows you
do you want to
to.
know my Stardew Valley like big confession? I've never used a horse. I don't get what is the point of the horse? Like you can get around the world fine. I've never felt the need for a horse. I've never brought the stable. I've never used a horse in the Stardew.
I don't blame you. I don't think it's it increases your speed slightly, but the amount of times you have to hop on and hop off of it to pick up, like if you're using it to help you forage, it's not like very efficient to have to hop off and hop off hop on so often, so I don't blame you. I usually would use the horse. I think if I was just trying to get into town really quick, just talk to a specific person, um, to catch them for their birthday or whatever. So the horse helped me a lot in a pinch, but I usually just use the fast travel options whenever I could, like the obelisks.
Nice. What else is in the shop?
There is the hopper, which allows you to load items automatically into a machine in front of it, which I actually really enjoyed because you could just put in a bunch of, I don't know, you can put that in front of a furnace and just keep crafting a lot of different bars, and it'll just automatically do that for you, from my knowledge.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That'd be a
Right?
huge, yeah, that'd be massive.
You can buy mushroom tree seeds from the shop, and they have a couple of other things available, like recipes for the heavy tapper, which is, I think, just a faster way to get sap from a tree. Um, you can buy the hopper recipe as opposed to buying the hopper specifically. There is a golden egg in there, which I think is tied to an event, maybe. It just says a very rare and special egg with a solid gold shell. Is this the golden chicken? Yes, you can get golden chickens from a
Amazing.
golden egg. Um, let's see, and then some cosmetic items like an exotic double bed, Mr. Key's hat, Key's seasoning for cooking, which I think just increases like the powers of any thing. There's Galaxy Souls, which I think is the most useful, as you need three of them to use a Galaxy weapon to unleash its like final form. Oh, and there's the key to the town, which allows you to go into any building at any of time of the day, which I suppose is also helpful,
That would be very helpful.
right?
Yeah,
So
that one
I
sounds
think
super useful.
although if you go into Pierre's and he's not there to sell you anything, doesn't really matter. They can get in at like 1 a.m.
No, but it'd be very helpful for those days when you forget it's someone's birthday. You're like, I need to gift them
Oh,
something, and I'm just going to break into their house and give it to them while they're sleeping.
that's very right. That's very right. So yeah, I think a lot of these items are like kind of nice to have, kind of nice quality of life improvements, but definitely too late in the game, unless you're trying to, I think, 100% everything. So these might just help you and get to that a little faster.
Nice. So, final question from me, Bev. Are you going to 100% it before 1.6 comes out and your 100% is no longer 100% and you have to get a
Oh
statue of even
no.
truer perfection?
Oh no. Oh no. I didn't even think about that. That depends on when 1.6 out comes out, and how much more of a break I need to overcome being burnt out from grinding to get to 67% so far.
That's fair.
So the goal would be yes, but likelihood the answer is no.
And is there anything from 1.6 that you would like to see added?
um, I would not be, given how big 1.5 was and kind of the hype I think that they're giving 1.6. I would not be surprised if it's like a DLC type of a update like this one was, where it could be a whole separate area. If that's the case, I would ask for not an additional farm to manage, and accommodate some sort of magical mirror ship where you can either mirror the farm on Ginger Island or mirror the farm on your regular area. What would you ask for?
Yeah, I don't think I want new areas. I think the world is kind of explored enough. I would rather go deep into the lore side, like, and not
Ooh.
necessarily. It doesn't need to be late game stuff as well. Like, have more quests with people in the town, or like one of the quests that I really enjoyed in Ginger, the 1.5 update is there's the one where you're kind of doing the giving items through like a chain of people in the town, of
Mhm,
something that's
mhm.
important to them. And I like those sorts of things because they just give you that little bit of more insight into the characters and the NPCs, which is one of the strengths of Stardew. So I would like to lean more into the people side of the world rather than here's more new items to get and stuff to explore in that way.
I would also vote for that if I could. If they give us another area, I would ask for the mirror ship or just don't do another farm. But if we could, I would want to learn a little bit more about the world because it's clear that it's there. And I think what's his face? Concerned Ape has kind of alluded to it maybe, and I'm recalling like a movie trailer, I think within the theater of On the Valley where it does show like different worlds as options in, or maybe I don't know. I recall distinctly seeing some sort of video within the game that kind of hinted at other areas or other lore that could exist within the game already. So I
Yeah.
would love to explore a little bit more of that, even if it did mean like a new area, but just being able to tie it, I think, a little bit more to the main Stardew Valley area would be
Agree.
what I would ask for if it was a new area as
Yeah.
well.
The other thing I really, really want is let me pick up the trash that's on the beach. You know, where the train flows out and there's that trash. I really want to be able to pick that up. Please let me pick that up.
If you're listening, Concerned Abe, and you need one quality of life improvement for the base game, let it be beach cleanup. That could be a mini game if you want it to be. Just let us like, or go the core island route and have it just be a main core component where we need it for crafting or something.
Yes. I don't think I'd like in it. It's a thing I'm seeing more and more in games is more like difficulty options, you know, where there's things that you can kind
Mm-hmm.
of just turn on and off at will to really sort of like customize the experience. And I guess it's kind of the idea of bringing, you know, some of the stuff that exists through modding into the game, right? So like maybe just turn off like the ability to turn off damage. So you
Mm-hmm.
can just like, you know, go to the mines and not worry about dying. And yes, it lowers, you know, the difficulty, but it's like ultimately we play these games because of the vibes, right? It's not meant to be
Right.
if there's something that is hard and not enjoyable, then I want more optionality to kind of just give everyone the chance to sort of switch some of those things off.
And I think there are a couple of hard mode. Like there's a Shrine of Challenge for the mines in Skull Cave, which I didn't know existed until I was like looking into what to talk about for today. But like, can we normalize easy mode or like story mode more so? Like, I know a lot of mainstream games now have those options, but it's not popular or considered like you people don't consider you like a true gamer or whatever if you're playing the easy mode. And it's like, can we just normalize that? Because you're 100% right, we're not playing these games most of the time for a challenge. Like sure, sometimes we do want to be challenged and there's options to do that within the game or within the mini games inside the game, but most of the time I just want the easiest way to enjoy a nice game. And sometimes that involves looking up the wiki to get to what I need to do it faster. But it would be nice if there were in-game components to allow me to make things easier for me. You know.
Totally. And if I want a combat challenge, I am not picking Stardew Valley as the game that I want to do that in. Like I'll pick a game with like good combat.
Very true. Like I would pick up Hades again probably, and especially since Hades 2 thing is eventually coming out and I need to get back into that. So yeah, there's if I want hard challenges, this is not it. I would pick up like a Dark Souls game or something, right? But
100%.
oh my goodness.
Oh, well, I think that brings to a wrap Stardew Valley 1.5. And I was just looking at the background of when it came out just to see how late we were on this. Because I honestly couldn't remember when it came out. So Bev, I just want to get your guess. When do you think 1.5 came out?
I feel like it was 2019, like pre-COVID.
Oh, you're close. It was 2020. So it's the end of 2020. which
Okay.
we are now in 2024, so we're only 3 years late to this one.
Uh-huh.
But I think there's something to be said for the fact that Stardew Valley itself is approaching 10 years old,
Hmm.
and we still talk about it so fondly, right? Like it doesn't feel
Hmm.
out of date.
Hmm.
It's yeah, I don't. It's. I mean, I think everybody listening to the show knows, but there's something really magical about Stardew Valley, and 1.5
Hmm.
really adds to it. And the fact that 3 years on from the update, however many years on from the game coming out, we are still like just raving about this game and have so many
Hmm.
positive things to say about it. Is it's just one of those things that will never really be replicated, right? Like even with Coral
Right.
Island, which Al's big into, I've been big into. Kevin Michael are wrong. It was absolutely the farming game of the year for
Uh-huh.
2023. It's like
Hmm.
I feel like we are officially just like throwing out the decision that was on the show and saying that Coral Island is the thing. Like that was the one
Oh
that
yeah,
won. But
for
even
sure.
that,
And I oh, goodness. I will say this. I was slated to go onto that show, and because of IRL things, I just could not fit it in or make it work. And had I been on this show, it would have been Coral Island would have been the game of the year. Al and I would have overpowered Micah, and it would have happened, and therefore it is canon.
great. I
It
love
is
it.
canon in another multiverse. In the multiverse of our game of the year, it is canon.
uh, Amazing. But even that game, right, which we've talked about as being sort of a great modern take on Stardew, it's hard to see it having the longevity that Stardew has in our
Yeah.
minds.
I don't like Stardew Valley is still like it was a game like was a genre like changing event. I feel like extinction not an extinction level event, creation level event.
I don't know. I
The,
feel like it did make Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons pretty friggin' extinct.
that's a good point. But
I think it's just Kevin and Micah that like those games now, so they're just full of bad opinions.
uh-huh. Oh goodness. But it is interesting to see that like now that like despite the fact there are so many Stardew clones out there, there's no other game that has been consistently at like a $10 to $15 like price point that is still putting out free updates like 5, 10 plus like years after the fact that it came out. So I don't know how this is sustainable for Stardew. Maybe it's just so well done that people are still invested in purchasing this. But the fact that they're able to still make this like free and not a DLC like based update is mind-boggling to me and says something to I think the value of of Concerns Apes like vision and like the team that he's built.
I totally agree. I think this is a use case in like if you make something to a really high quality, the sort of effect it can have, right? Because this is in many respects the problem that I think a lot of games have now, and like I get it, it's the reality of the way the world works, but we see so many games now that come out in an unfinished state, and then the content that they are adding is actually what we think of as finishing the game because they need that money
Right.
in the door. Stardew Valley released in a like if Stardew Valley 1.0 was all that game ever was, we would still think really highly of it because it was an exceptional
Hmm.
game when it released. The fact that since then we have had continual large updates that make a game that was already perfect, an even truer form of perfect is just I think a huge part of the reason it has been so successful because it's not one of those games that you have to recommend with a caveat, right? It's just if you like these
Hmm.
sorts of games, it's highly likely that you will like Stardew Valley. Um,
Hmm.
Whereas I feel with almost every other game, the caveat, it's like you'll like this game if you like X, Y, and Z, but don't play it if you don't like, A, B, or C, and that's just not a hesitation that I have to put on Stardew.
Hmm. Hmm. That's also another reason why Coral Island should have gotten the game of the year because it's if you
Yes.
like farming games, it's a game for you.
Unless you have an Xbox Series S, that's the one caveat. That doesn't work on that one
Yes.
so well.
The one caveat for now.
Uh, cool. All right. Well, I think that brings us to a wrap. So, Bev, if people want to find you on the internets, where can they do that?
They can find me at Bev Granger 711. So that's BEVGRANGER 711. I'm basically that's my handle for basically every like platform, be it Mastodon or X or it's so weird calling it X, Twitter or Instagram or what have you. So that's the place to find me. How about you?
If you want to find me, as always, the best way to do that is to actually support Al and what he does with the harvest season. You can do that by going to patreon.com/thspod, which gives you access to the Slack where we chat all things farming games or cottagecore, and you also get access to what do we call it? The greenhouse, where we talk
Mm-hmm.
about less cottagecore related later topics. To get access to all of those episodes. If you want to get
Mm-hmm.
in contact with Al, you can find him at the Scottbot on mastodon.scott, also on X/Twitter. You can follow the show on Tumblr and Twitter at THSPod. If you have feedback or you want to find any links, that will be in the show notes, harvestseason.club. And I think that's us for this week. So until next time,
Mm-hmm.
farmers, have a
Have a
good
good
harvest.
harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers Kevin, Stuart, and Elisa. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
Doot, 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 doot. I feel like I should be using this time to give you some good excerpts or post credits outtakes. That's the word. I'm also just gonna keep talking